name's Kimberly Mascaro, and I'm a psychologist, and I do psychotherapy. And this is an area, announcing dreams is an area that I've been researching and collecting individual families' reports for about 10 years. And it has nothing to do with my practice. It has to do with just an area of interest. So I'm from California. Yeah, I've been with, maybe I'll just say IASD since about 2012 or so I'm kind of a little bit newbie. And that's all that's coming to me to tell you about myself right now. And if you have questions, of course, we'll have time for that. So this presentation will not take up the 30 minutes, and just to be sure, we're doing Q&A after each, or?
Yes, there's a Q&A after each, and then there's a next time slot for connecting our topics or whatever.
Great.
Yes?
Thanks. Okay, so yeah, welcome again and good morning, everyone. So today I'm going to be talking mostly about announcing dreams. So the dreams I'll share with you would be in the announcing dream category. And I'm going to define that term, but also talk about what is an extraordinary dream, because I've found that in my collection of dreams that have been shared with me by mostly women, but some men as well, that there was several that were quite extraordinary. And so that's what we'll look at today. So how do announcing dreams and extraordinary dreams intersect? So first, some definitions. So what are announcing dreams? And I hope you can see this okay. It's a bit faded.
Too small.
Yeah, and maybe
No, the other way. This way, back. It's back.
To me.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, that might be the best we can do. So I'll be sure to read everything.
Yes.
Okay. Great.
Is it better?
It's better.
Yeah.
Just the focus.
Does that help a little? Okay. Let's see. All
You
right.
can come closer if you want.
So I'm going to just define announcing dreams. And this is the definition I used in my doctoral dissertation. So if you look at some reincarnation literature, if you read around to some maybe of the pop articles that you find in some spiritual religious communities, the definition might be slightly different. But this is how I defined it for my doctoral study. And that came out about 5-6 years ago. And announcing dreams, for this definition, is a pre-birth communication between a parent, but of course, aunts, uncles, grandparents, siblings experience this too, but for this case, between a parent and fetus before conception or birth. Announcing dream is also a high sensory dream perception. So that can be, there's visuals, strong sensations or feeling, sounds, communication, and sometimes again heard and other times just perceived mind to mind or telepathically. And this type of high sensory dream perception leaves the dreamer believing that a genuine communication has taken place. And that's really important because many people have dreams of babies all the time. Through my dissertation, I can't tell you how many male babies I was birthing and taking care of, and that makes sense given that I was in academia. That's how I frame it, personally. So I knew that I was not going to have a baby. It had a different felt sense, if you will. And so in these cases, the dreamer would say, I've had dreams about kids, but this one was different. And I can't tell you how, but it was so different, and I knew that was my kid. What do you say to that? So then, extraordinary dreams now. There's no real, and if someone knows later, I'd love to know, but as far as I understand, there's no definition in the literature about exactly how extraordinary dreams are defined and agreed upon. So a couple people talk about this, Richard Russo, Kelly Bulkley, and others, Stan Krippner, Fariba, and others, that talk about how an extraordinary dream may be a visual, intense, unforgettable, precious, or meaningful dream. It may be rare, have an unusual quality, anomalous. Just can't explain this dream. It's like no other. Or more of the rare dreams we have. An extraordinary dream can be one where there's psi phenomena, so precognition, telepathy, clairvoyance, and an extension beyond ordinary thinking. So as we move forward and look at some dreams, consider those definitions and also consider continuity and discontinuity. So there's some versions of the continuity hypothesis. This one is the one I chose. And comes from Hall and Nordby, their very extensive study, reflecting, or saying that dreams reflect a person's life in the waking state. Basically, dreaming and waking states are one, according to this view of the continuity hypothesis. And so, this way of thinking about it can explain a lot of pregnancy dream reports, simply due to the stressors associated with this, major life transition. So, for example, lots of dream reports that were either in my doctoral study, my pilot study before, or reports that were shared with me after about how there was an impulse to protect. And am I sounding okay? Okay. An impulse to protect the baby. Also struggles with breastfeeding. Like, I can't get this breast in the baby's mouth and I'm trying 100 times. And problems at birth. Some resolved, some unresolved. And there's studies about that are very interesting and show how birth outcomes may even be improved, but that was not part of my study. So those are some types of dreams that occur for women during pregnancy that seem to reflect waking state concerns, seem to sit well with this version of the continuity hypothesis. But it doesn't seem to explain announcing dreams toward like this further end of the spectrum. So while we're considering that, I'm also thinking about discontinuity. And when I think about that, I'm thinking about those kind of latter, more anomalous definitions of extraordinary, and like I said earlier, again, the rare, unusual quality, psi phenomena, and such. So I'm going to share with you 6 dreams that in my collection I found to be the most extraordinary. And as you consider each one, what I was suggesting was to think about it on terms of a spectrum, from continuity to discontinuity, from ordinary to extraordinary. And there's no answer. So there's no real answer, but here's some of them. So if you saw the Cyber Dreaming Conference paper on this, some of these will be familiar, or if you've seen my book, some of these will be familiar. So they are condensed. If they sound slightly different, that's why I've condensed them. So the first one, in her first trimester of her first pregnancy, the dreamer dreamt of a baby girl. The infant, visually appearing to be about 8 months old, exclaimed, "I'm not your baby." And shortly after this abrupt dream, it was very quick, the dreamer had a miscarriage. Then, they were pregnant for a while, but they were wrong. So later that same year, another dream occurred with a slightly younger looking male infant visually appearing and stating, "I'm your baby and my name is pseudonym Travis." Again, just as abrupt. And also it's clear, she said these dreams were so clear, not like other dreams she had. She was very, very convinced what was going on, and she birthed a male child that year. And yeah, I won't say more about this one. Let me go on. There's stories that go with these, but for today we don't have time. So, another dream. Not yet a mother, the dreamer had experienced many challenges with becoming pregnant over the years. So she really wanted a baby girl. She said she prayed, she asked, she meditated, did everything. She really wanted to have a baby girl. And it was becoming stressful because becoming pregnant was becoming a real challenge for this family. And she decided, okay, I'm just taking a break. Not even gonna try, no more doctor's appointments, no more pressure. Then she had this dream of a huge adult-sized male boy, or baby actually, it was infant form, but bigger than any of us, tall. And it was kind of kneeling on the floor, leaning over her bed. And it said, this dream child said, "I'm coming." And then that was it. You know, leaning over, watching her sleep, watching her sleep, and I'm coming, gone. So about a month after that or so, let's see, got a little lost here into the story. The dreamer conceived about a month after this. She was in such disbelief, she went and got medical confirmation. Where usually I found it the other way around. Women said, I don't need medical confirmation, I know who this kid is. I'm not even gonna do amniocentesis or other procedures because I already know. This was quite different. She said, I better go see if this is really the case. I can't believe I'm pregnant. And she was. She birthed a male child the following year. So a third dream was a woman who told me she was in a pretty bad relationship. And she's in her first trimester at this time, contemplating, do I want to continue with this pregnancy or terminate? Then she has this dream. And she just at first dreamt of sitting with a little boy. She said the sight of him prompted lucidity. She lucid dreams from time to time. And she asked, who are you? But the boy would not answer her when she asked if it was her baby. Instead, the baby in the dream just said, I'd like to be named Peter. And the dreamer said no. She's lucid. She's like, I will not. She did say, though, she felt like she was speaking to another person, just as if it was, every day. And a few months later, this boy appeared in her dreams again. This time there was no conversation. He didn't ask for any, request. He just sat next to her. And she started to feel a calming sense, a calming presence from him, and they would just sit quietly together. And she said, at that point, I knew this was this is sticking around. This isn't going anywhere. And so she gave birth to a male newborn some months later. Didn't name him Peter, though. She said, I believe we already met. And that was a very strong feeling for her. That she said, I met this kid, I know this kid. So we're halfway. And now, at 15 weeks pregnant, another dreamer reported, she called it an out-of-body experience. She was experienced in those and lucid dreaming. And she floated up toward the ceiling above her sleeping body. She had a plan to connect with the fetus already. She wanted to do this. But she wasn't sure how to do it. She was still pretty early along, 15 weeks. So what she did in her lucidity was to focus on her belly and say, just call, baby, baby, baby. She said at that moment she felt a more physical response, moving, kicking, twisting. And when she awoke, she said she couldn't feel any of that at all. But then she had to go to the doctor the next day for a checkup, and they did an ultrasound. And there's that period, and I'm not sure if it's at 15 weeks though, maybe someone in here knows. There's that period when the baby does some really active movement. I just can't remember what week that is.
It's a little after that.
A little after, okay. And then so at this 15-week appointment, according to her, the ultrasound did show this very surprisingly active fetus moving about. And so for her that was meaningful. For her that meant something. And she perceived that as a communication between the two at this early stage. Dream number 5. From conception to the 3rd trimester, the dreamer had very frequent interactive dreams. So that stood out for me. The dreams just kept happening. That wasn't, that isn't typical. They just kept happening over and over, and they were interactive with the male child. We have lots of boys in this sample, don't we? So in her dream, her and the boy would play these kind of baby games, just making funny faces at each other, staring eye to eye, things like that she said were very positive and relationship affirming. And that's actually a common theme, just as a side note. This bonding and confidence enhancing theme seemed to stand out for the women that shared their dreams with me. Doesn't mean, obviously, that that's the case for everyone. So again, all very positive. She was not prepared. It was an unplanned pregnancy, and ultrasound confirmed she was carrying a male. But the dream left her feeling like she could do this, she could go on. It was going to work out. So the final, let me just take a sip of water. The final dream, here. So upon discovering she was 1 month pregnant, scared and confused, the dreamer considered termination. The dreamer incubated a dream at that time asking for advice on how to proceed. In the dream, she was holding a baby girl she believed to be the one she was carrying and feeling great amounts of love, she said, just like so much love. And the dreamer said that the baby looked at her with blue eyes, and she was like, it was like my partner's eyes, but coming through this baby, and conveyed to her, no words spoken, but right then the baby, she believes, sent out the sense that I am Sophia. That's my name. You will name me Sophia. And so upon awakening, the dreamer reflected on the realness and vividness of this unforgettable dream, and how she was not going to choose Sophia or anything close, but she stuck with that name. And she also said she felt like she had been directly spoken to by a wise being. And I found that to be quite interesting as well. So given these 6 announcing dreams, you can see some on that continuity-discontinuity spectrum. You can find them somewhere along there. So with regard to ordinary thinking, elements arise suggesting this ordinary thinking and showing support for the continuity hypothesis. For example, it's not surprising that those anxious with unplanned pregnancies would produce dreams of babies. No surprise. But there's also some non-ordinary aspects emerging, and they move those dreams, I believe, toward a more extraordinary, end of the spectrum. All dreamers found these dreams to be memorable, vivid, and rare, in that they didn't occur outside of the pregnancy or didn't occur, some cases were prior to conception, but not far beyond in my samples. And for those able to provide ultrasound results within the time frame, all were correct in the fetal prediction. Again, this is a smaller group. I found that true in a larger group in an earlier study, but it didn't surprise me given the Johns Hopkins study. Do you all know that one where they dreamed those that did fetal sex prediction of many means had different rates of accuracy, but the dreams, I believe, were 100% accurate. And that never happens. That never, ever happens. So some reports that you've seen today suggest precognition, lucidity, clairvoyance, telepathy. And these types of dreams shared here, announcing and extraordinary, reveal how the two experiences may intersect. So announcing dreams by their very nature often find a home in the category of extraordinary. Some announcing dream reports, however, are rather ordinary and sit comfortably alongside the continuity hypothesis. So you'll see these moving about. Extraordinary dreams do not frequently include pre-birth communication. As far as I've seen when I've read books on extraordinary dreams, I really don't see announcing dreams. Almost nowhere. So you do find them, though, in the reincarnation literature, and it's a little different. But looking at Ian Stevenson and others, there's some really interesting reports. Okay, and just the final line for those that, I know this is hard to read. It says, yet the reports included here show that some do. So I threw this in last minute as a side note, because this was taking place as I was about to come out here. So I've been talking to, so I don't talk much, but what I do have is that I've been talking to a couple that's in my county in California, and what I found to be interesting was that both the father and mother are reporting announcing dreams, and the father is reporting a lot more than the mother, and that's something I've never seen. Let's see. This is the first child for them both, surprise pregnancy. They each described recurring dreams of the baby-to-be, who would sometimes just kind of appear or appear in their hands. Sometimes there was some kind of mind-to-mind or telepathic, like communication, no words spoken. And the dream baby appeared many times in infant or toddler form, never young child, and not fetal state. And I make that distinction because some have gone into the womb while they're pregnant in the dream, lucid or not, and have had an interaction actually inside their, right in here, right in their belly. So
Kimberly, if
Yes.
you want questions and answers, if you want to have time for it.
Do we have a few, I didn't see the time, how many minutes do I have? Oh, wait.
5 minutes, make it half an hour.
Okay, then we're about to wrap up anyway. Let's see. So yes, even now during the third trimester and the dreams continued. No matter how bizarre, they said the dreams have all been a positive experience. And this is my, last slide. So I asked, how can extraordinary dreams be of service? And what's their purpose, what's their function? I write more about this in other areas, but we can think about how maybe they serve an evolutionary type of function. And I really thought it was interesting how so many talked about this prenatal bonding experience and enhanced confidence for first-time mothers that said, I have no money, I have my partner left, these really, really difficult situations, and that the dreams help them go on. I just closed with this quote from Stan Krippner, the Dream Telepathy book, that I liked because it talked about these profound interconnections. So telepathic and precognitive dreams, he says, whatever their explanations, suggest that there are profound interconnections among human beings and between humanity and nature, and that these links can help to mend the torn social and ecological fabric so characteristic of modern living. And my response to that is that I think that these possible profound interconnections allow announcing dreams to flourish and connect kin across time and place. Here's some references that I used for this paper. And we can move on to questions if you have, or maybe announcing a dream you'd like to share.